what we have here is we got compound that we use at the factory here. You could use either Prussian bluing or anything. You got to take a pattern reading, but this is just a marking compound. What you put completely on the warm threads. What we try to do is put it on all the threads so we can see a pattern like that. Now we put a little bit. I put a portion on the gear so I can see a pattern on that. Try to match it up. Like I said, people use Prussian bluing. This is just a marking compound that we use. Now we always look for a timing mark. There's a zero marking. If there's any zero marking, it'll be on this threads here, and there would be a zero marking on this thread. This one doesn't have one, so we don't have to worry about it. Since there's none, we can just slip it together, mesh together like this. Put our top carrier on, which we have here. Big tool. I put 3 bolts in, equally spaced apart to put some tension. And also there's a lot of people ask that there's torque settings. All the prints have torque settings for these bolts, so if you need the torque settings, prints, or give us a factory a call, and they can tell you how many foot-pounds it needs to take if you need to know that. Okay, goes around and around. That's a good thing. Now what we take a pattern reading is, what we do is turn the input and put a little pressure on the output, just by fingers or whatever else, so I can try to see the best pattern I can. I'm just putting a little tension on it. I go around a couple of times in each direction. And a lot of times I don't care which way you run it, we try to get equal as possible, both directions. If even you only run it one direction. Okay, that should do it there. Now we remove the top carrier so we can look at both gear and input. Track the shims, remove this, and you can see there's a pattern on the teeth. Try to take a look at best we can. See where the yellow or it would be bluing would be on both directions. See where the pattern is rubbing from one side, removing the metal, or removing the yellow or the bluing. That tells me where it's hitting on there. Now I compare that to my CA55 if I have to move it in any direction. Then you can go back to the book here and say, okay, this is the pattern I have here. This is after it runs for a while, so you can see how it hits on half the gear the other way. Now you have to move the input or the high speed. You can see how the pattern's all one direction here, the arrow's pointing. And you always have to look at both the pinion and the gear. Just don't look at just one, because you can look there and cover this up. The gear looks the same, doesn't it? So it doesn't tell me which way to go. So you always got to look at the gear and the worm or the pinion in both in direction to see it. And never try to move 2 things at once. If you got any questions, take a look at this and always move one thing at a time and see if it improves it. If it doesn't, then try the other one. But always do not try to move 2. And this is a 5-to-1 to a 25-to-1 gear set patterns, and this is a 5-to-1 gear set here, and this is the higher ratios of the same thing.